Deputy Minister, thank you very much for your time here on ENCA. Now, first of all, what was your reaction when you heard of these claims by Tokyo Sexwale?
Well, thanks very much, Maseko. Like all South Africans, I was quite shocked by these revelations of unfounded and wild allegations that were made by a person of esteemed character like Comrade Tokyo Sexwale. Of course, it is most likely that Comrade Tokyo Sexwale's utterances and actions are due to his exposure to a very sophisticated network of scammers and peddlers. And therefore, it's also possible, most likely, that he may have become, inadvertently, he may have become an instrument in the hands of these groupings. Just to give you a little bit of background, a few years ago, between 2013 and 2016, the security agency has been investigated a number of 419 scams. Most convincingly was what was called Metro Grant Holdings, which also wanted to do business with South African government. And we, after investigations, even though at the time that it was refuted by both the Treasury and the Reserve Bank, it continued to make false claims that there was money in the bank, which is why today they accuse President Zuma of knowing, because their modus operandi is the same. They want to have meetings with the leadership of that country, and therefore to allege that the leadership is part of the network. Today, they are accusing President Ramaphosa that in the letters that the correspondence which were shown in public, that he has not responded. These are nothing else but scammers, but also peddlers. But most importantly, Mashego, is that the timing of these utterances, in the context of the protest, fees must fall protest, in the context of COVID-19 pandemic challenges, it gives an impression of a leadership in government that is refusing to allow a certain anonymous funder who can make our problem disappear in 1 minute because he owns quadrillions or trillions. And it creates an impression and creates a possibility of social instability because it creates false hope for our people by making unfounded allegations.
Mr. Kodwa, we, as part of the NEC of the ANC, have you at some point tried to reach out to Mr. Sexwale since his allegations to the media, basically here on ENCA last week Sunday? Tomorrow will be a week. Have you tried to get a hold of him?
Personally, I haven't, but I'm aware that there's a number of very prominent people, either outside of the NEC, who would have spoken to him in their individual pieces, because the modus operandi of these scammers and peddlers, when they get into the country, they use politically connected consultants or individuals. And in him, I think they found an instrument. But also they are good in name dropping. That is why when they go into the country, the first thing they do, they will make a claim that the money, it is safe, it is somewhere kept in the Reserve Bank, and therefore they want to have a meeting with the president or finance minister of that country, so that when they negotiate or they enter into any discussion, they will start by saying, we have spoken to the president. Their intention, among others, is to compromise the leadership of the country, but secondly, to attack the integrity of the financial sector institutions, such as the Reserve Bank and the Treasury, so that you create a doubt within the investor community about the integrity of these institutions, because the insistence, despite the fact that both institutions have refuted the existence of such funds, these claims continue to be made. Clearly, they profiled him that these allegations had to be made by a person of his stature so that somewhere they will be believable. In reality, both these institutions have refuted the existence of such funds. So you wonder, what is the agenda behind continuing to make false allegations, nonetheless, except to create a possibility of social instability? In the past, when the investigation was done in 2013 and 2016, the false claims were made in a number of traditional councils, in local municipalities. That's why then you had protests in Limpopo, you had protests in KwaZulu-Natal, because people were promised that there is money, but the leadership in those authorities was refusing to accept money. Precisely the same reasons we have now. is that these institutions, these scammers and peddlers, they've got intelligence capacity where they can profile an individual so that they know who can fit the purpose to make false and peddle fake information. And I think in him, they found an instrument to peddle fake news, to peddle wrong information, very dangerous, making very inflammatory and reckless statements that have got the possibility to create social instability.
According to the evidence that Sexwale furnished the media, he sent us a lot of emails that he sent to the president, for instance, the finance minister, as well as the Reserve Bank governor. Do you know at all if the president did receive any of these emails? Because it was between 2019 and lately.
That is a modus operandi of these scammers and peddlers. They always, whenever, the reason they do so, to send email, to send correspondences to the leadership, is that when they are exposed about their scamming, is that they will say the leadership is aware. It's part of their modus operandi. This one, the white spiritual boy, is not different from Metro Grant Holdings, which was investigated from 2013, where it was recommended as an agency that government must distance itself from these scammers. This one is not different too, but you must worry about the fact that both credible institutions of integrity, Treasury and the Reserve Bank, have refuted the existence of such funds, but they continue to make these claims because I think because of the exposure to this sophisticated network of scammers, you can't believe the fact that the money does not exist. That's why if you ask a question, how much is in the account, they will not tell you. They will tell you about zeros. They will say 12 zeros. They will say 15 zeros. Because none of them know exactly the amount, let alone the fact that they know who's the owner. That's why they refer to him as somebody anonymous.
As we have, for instance, another email from a person by the name of Mr. Michael Lowe from the presidency responding to Sexwale's first email from last year, from 2019, the 14th of February, acknowledging receipt of the letter of his first email. Why hasn't there been any communication with him in between then and now to sort this out before it became so big?
It doesn't matter, Maseko, whether at that time they would have responded. The scamming is a scam. That is the reason they continue to insist that they would have been correspondences between the leadership of the country, is to compromise the leadership of the country. Why must you continue as the leadership of the country, particularly the president? Because an approval of finances has got nothing to do with the president. That's a matter of the Reserve Bank. The reason they continue in each country, they make sure that they talk to the president or the finance minister of that country, is to compromise and legitimize what is unlawful, what is a scam. That's why they want to bring in the leadership of the country. There would have been no reason why the president would have had a continuous engagement with what obviously is an obvious scam. And I think it is deliberate, the utterances, the timing, the profile of the individual who must make those. That is well designed, is orchestrated in the context of what South Africa is today, the issue about corruption. It fits to the narrative because it had to be made in a particular time by a certain individual who was profiled. And I think in him, like I said earlier, they found an instrument that in their view can shake society and create social instability.
Now, Mr. Kodwa, for the Hawks to investigate this matter, it shows the seriousness of the allegations. You mentioned that state security did investigate such between 2013 and 2016 and found that it was a scam. Have you resurfaced those investigations, for instance, lately, since these allegations are coming back now?
I can assure you that if you look at the modus operandi, as it was announced in public through a 2-hour press conference by Mr. Tokyo Sexwale, it's very clear that it is the same scam that we investigated 2013 and 2016. The modus operandi: identify a politically connected person, drop names, make sure that you connect and implicate the leadership. I mean, the fact that he's accusing the national executive of the country, in the form of the president and ministers, that they refused to accept what seems to be just a philanthropist who want to make our problem disappear over a day. And yet we know there is no such a person, because of his love for South Africa from Far East, that can make our problem disappear over a day. It's a scam. And therefore, For us to even further to do investigation, it's just a confirmation of what we continue to do as an agency on a daily basis, that 419 scams are a real story. It's something that happens every week in South Africa, and South Africans must be aware, particularly those who hold offices in government, must be aware of these scams. People who come and say, we have money, they always target big infrastructural programs. They say, we'll build you bridges, we'll build you this, and therefore you can only pay us after 2 or 5 years. These are scammers. And it's very easy out of desperation, because some of us are gullible to desperate money and information. It may be that we easily accept what is offered without appreciating that we are dealing with scammers.
Mr. Kodwa, speaking about the State Security Agency, a lot has been said at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry about the agency, staff talking about people who are against the Zondo Commission and making plans to make sure that it's basically whatever is said there is not believable. What's your take as the Deputy Minister of the agency with this, the statements made by staff there and former staff there that is quite embarrassing actually for a state security agency of a country?
As a member of cabinet, as a member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, like you said in your introduction, we support the work of the Zondo Commission from the beginning, as it continues to do. And we are aware about the certain revelations that are made. But I think we took a principled position that we will not run or will not do a running commentary, because it is just an investigation, an inquiry. At the end, Deputy Chief Justice will make a report available. At an appropriate time, all people, whether they are alleged in the commission, they must come before the commission, because state capture and corruption was a real problem in this country, and it continues to be a problem, and it must be dealt with once and for all, because institutions of state were captured. They were not able, and they were repurposed, some of them. They were not able to do and carry out their constitutional mandate. We support that work, in particular as a state security agency. And therefore, whatever revelations that were there of what went wrong in the past, we have started a process of repurposing the agency to do what is expected in terms of the Constitution.
Mr. Kodwa, we also have reports that there are members of SSA who are detained or arrested in Mozambique at the moment for spying. Can you confirm or deny this information?
Well, I have no information in relation to that.
Does it concern you that there are such reports? Because from what we've learned with our Mozambican counterparts is that this is true. Does it concern you at all that members of the SSA might be arrested in another country for spying?
Like I said, I have no information. This is news to me, what you are reporting to me. But it's a matter of concern that I think as soon as I drop this microphone, I'll be able to follow up it is true. But at the moment, I have no such information.
All right, Mr. Zizi Kodwa, let me let you go there. That is Zizi Kodwa, the NEC member of the ANC, as well as the Deputy Minister of the State Security Agency, coming to us live from Gqeberha.